it was like, oh, I'm only making $7,000 a month, and you grew by 500,000 this month, but you got problems? Excuse me. What's going on, allies? So what is scale? Scale is simply the ability to go from one point to another point in your business while increasing net profits and customer base, or potentially whatever core metric. We call it a beacon metric, or a metric that you know that you're aiming towards. As long as you meet that objective, you're essentially scaling. It could not be revenue related. It could be the amount of customers. It could be the increase in net revenue. There's a lot of different variables that create scale. But the biggest thing I wanted to tell you guys with our fancy little board here is that problems don't care. Or as I like to say, problems don't give a shit about your feelings. When I realized that this was something that that the scale had no care about my feelings, I was at a mastermind that I'm still in today in the software space, and at the time, REISIF was doing only about $7,000 a month. It was just me in the business. I was paying contractors to do development, and I was really in our infancy. And I was sitting at this mastermind around the table, and I had just stood up, no shit, and said my give or my ask or whatever, my problem. And I'm holding this little square microphone. I'm like, we're just getting started. My name's Tyler with REISIF, and we're at around the 7,000 monthly recurring revenue point. But I'm having a really big problem trying to get more trials, more customers coming in. And people gave me advice. And then this other gentleman stood up across the way on another table with some other, software founders. And he stood up and he said, hi, my name is blankety blank. And this month we've increased our revenue by $500,000. But we're really having an issue getting more customers. And I about fell over, and I felt like this dude just walked up behind me and just smacked me in the back of the head, as if I felt like he was attacking me. He wasn't, of course, but I felt attacked because, it was like, oh, I'm only making $7,000 a month, and you grew by 500,000 this month, but you got problems? Excuse me, I felt like he was being ritzy on me. But in all reality, that was the wrong way to approach the situation. And as I sat there and thought and continued through the mastermind, I realized that that was a huge lesson. Out of everything and sitting in that whole week, in that 3 days, that's the biggest thing that I took from it, was that scale is relative and the problems are the same problems no matter where you're at in business, to where we are now in the multiple seven figures range in a software company to where we were at that time that I said that is literally the same thing. We're still trying to get a certain amount of customers. We're still trying to increase that while maintaining, our net profits. It's all the same metric. The journey though, and this is the thing that you got to take from the whole scale and the reason why it doesn't matter, the journey towards getting to the destination, what your objectives are, and everybody in your team being pushed towards that journey, right? That metric you're trying to aim is the most important thing. So as long as you enjoy the journey as you're going through it, you're watching your numbers, it doesn't really matter what your scale is, right? You just got to be about the moment and enjoy the process as you get there, and the scale's organically going to happen. When we're talking about scale, let's just say we use the three analogies of customers, monies, and then the percent to scale. If we, for example, know that to get 10 customers, it's going to take us 100 monies, what does it take to scale? What is the scale percentage we want to have? Typically, what you want to make sure that you do is you want to make sure that you have a certain consistent scale so that you're growing all the time. For example, my minimum scale in my software company that if we don't meet something is wrong and we need to figure out what it is 10%. If we make X amount of revenue and we don't grow the next month by 10%, then there's something going on. Our target is at least 15 on average, but we want to get to that 20 plus growth month over month. So if this is in your real estate company, the metric is still the same, but how you get to it might have some nuances. All right, so you got to aim for a certain percent to scale. All right, so for me, like I said, that's 10% minimum. So if I need 10 customers and it takes me 100 monies, how much do I need to spend to get my 10% scale? In the end, though, the biggest thing you gotta realize is that everybody at scale has the same questions they're asking themselves. They all want a certain amount of customers, they all want to make a certain amount of monies or spend a certain amount of monies to get the customers, and they all want to have a certain amount of consistent scale and net profits. For most of you, I will say that you want at least 30% net. If you don't at least maintain 30% net profit, then you're not scaling in a healthy way. You can sacrifice net profits in order to do massive scale. A lot of software companies are literally zero net profits for years. It does depend on your business model, but for most of you, if you don't focus on taking your profits, if you want to learn more about that, read the book Profit First, then you're gonna lose out. But now, when you're first starting your business, you might be trying to get 10 customers. Hunter, who you might have seen, she's starting a cleaning company right now. She's trying to get at least X amount of customers while she starts off to get consistency. Someone who does photography, like Mason, is trying to get consistent amount of customers consistently. But what is it, the difference between something like Hunter's business she's creating now and the business that's already franchising? Well, absolutely nothing. It's just an extra zero, right? There's an extra zero. They need at least 100 customers and at least 1,000 monies, or they need to make that in order to still meet that percentage. So, scale is relative. The problems are all the same, and they don't give a shit about your feelings. It's just the fact that you need to get customers. You have to know how much money it takes to get a customer, and as you continue to scale, you gotta try and cut back those expenses and refine them to increase, to maintain net profit. It's a really simple metric. It's nothing revolutionary. It's just business principles. So just make sure you know how many customers you need. Make sure you understand how you're getting one customer so you can replicate, understand where your customer's at, understand how much money it takes to get a customer, and how much money one customer makes you, and then know that you want to have a metric of what scale is. If you want to scale 10% month over month, you want to scale 10% a year. At scale, there's some companies that are only 2% a year, and that's totally normal for where they're at. For us right now, it's 10% month over month, and then maintain that net profit. At minimum, for the real estate companies out there, you should be at least maintaining 30%, if not 60 to 70%. In software companies, sometimes it's a little bit different, depending on your industry. Just look out in your industry what the average is, but 30% should be a baseline. Read the books Profit First and Predictable Revenue to help you kind of hone in on this skill set. So hopefully this helped you guys out a little bit and gave you a little bit of insight on where I came from and kind of where I took and put these principles into my life. But just remember, problems don't give a shit about your scale, your feelings. They just happen. You just got to be able to have the things in place to track them, fix them, and then press forward. So thanks, guys.